Stephen A., is Dirk a top 10 player in NBA history?
No, I'm not going to give him that. Got a lot of love for Dirk, future Hall of Famer. He's everything and then some in terms of what they say about him from an international perspective, in terms of being a guy that's over here playing in the NBA. He's definitely top 20. I'll give him that kind of love. There's no doubt about that. You can make a legitimate argument for him to be top 15. But when we talk about top 10, you got Kareem, you got Wilt, you got Hakeem Olajuwon, you got Shaq, you got MJ, you got Magic, you got Kobe, you got LeBron. The Oscar Robinsons of the world. We can go back for Larry Bird. The list goes on and on. Dirk Nowitzki up until Steph Curry arrived. I consider him probably the greatest shooter since Larry Bird. I give him that kind of love. At 7 feet with an unblockable J, he's something special. He's got a championship on his resume. You can have a debate as to whether it was him or Tim Duncan in terms of great power forwards, but because Tim Duncan, as great as he was, had the structure available to him consistently throughout his entire career in San Antonio with Pop and Buford and the crew, whereas Dirk didn't have that, even though I got a lot of respect for Mark Cuban. And, of course, I revere Coach Rick Carlisle. But when we talk about top 10, Max, I got a lot of love for Dirk Nowitzki. He's one of the greatest ever, but I can't give him that.
No, he's certainly not top 10. He's not in the discussion for top 10. Let me just go over the names. Michael Jordan, obviously. Bill Russell, who was considered practically unanimously either him or Wilt the greatest before Michael. So Bill Russell, Wilt. Kareem, who's probably the best argument in the modern era against Jordan for greatest player of all time. That's 4. Shaq, who was a contemporary with Dirk Nowitzki. No one would have taken Dirk over Shaq. Olajuwon, the best player in the league when Jordan wasn't there, a 2-time champion. Duncan, a contemporary of Dirk. I disagree that there's an argument for Dirk over Duncan. I think there is a Dirk versus Garnett argument, both with one championship, one the much better one the better offensive player, the other the much better defensive player. I'm not even going to put Garnett in there so far. I'm already up to 7. Magic, Bird is 8, 9. Kobe, 10, LeBron. Many of these guys were contemporaries with Dirk, and there would never be an argument that Dirk was ahead of them. That's why Dirk won 1 MVP and 1 Finals MVP. He was the best player on a Finals team that won the championship. By the way, it involved Miami imploding because they didn't yet know how to play together. That championship probably doesn't occur if it's the Heat team the next year that they face. Nevertheless, he's an amazingly great player.
An implosion.
I just named 11 players better. That there's really no argument for. Here are another bunch of players who I think are better, but you could argue against them, but I don't think most people would. Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, and then you get Moses Malone. There's an argument, Dirk or Moses Malone. Okay, I take Moses. I can understand why someone would take Dirk. Dr. J, whose prime came in the ABA, but was the best player there. And then you get to the guys who never won a championship, but also were dominant players for a number of years, some of them playing the same position as Dirk. I mentioned Garnett, who did win a championship. What about Karl Malone? How about KD right now? I mean, Kevin Durant. Think about Dirk Nowitzki several years ago, and now think about Kevin Durant right now, and they're both free agents. Who do you want your team to go get? Durant's just better. Dirk is great. Durant's just better. It's really not that hard. Elgin Baylor, you could argue, but is right there. You could argue David Robinson or Patrick Ewing, and certainly Ewing is not one of the top 5 centers ever. So there's no chance that Dirk is a top 10 player, and he's one of my. I love watching Dirk Nowitzki, but he ain't top 10. Maybe top 15, you could argue. I'm going to say you're going to lose that argument. Maybe he's top 20, but maybe he's just outside the top 20. I'm Max Kellerman. Thanks for stopping by. Before you go, hit the button below to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss a moment of me taking down Stephen A. Smith.